Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. The unexpected request. John had always lived a simple, uneventful life. He was an ordinary guy with an ordinary job, living in an ordinary apartment. Every day was the same: wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat. He didn't mind it too much. In fact, it felt comfortable. The world outside was a fast-moving, ever-changing place, but John preferred the calmness of routine. Still, there was one thing that bothered him: how much time he spent on mundane tasks. Washing dishes, making meals, cleaning the house, it all felt like a waste of his precious time. If there was one thing he truly wanted, it was a little more freedom. Freedom from chores, freedom to focus on things that mattered more to him, like reading or playing video games. He often thought about how nice it would be to have someone, or something, to handle all those tasks for him. It was a time like any other when he stumbled across an ad while scrolling through his tablet one evening. The headline caught his eye. "Get your own robot assistant today." The ad promised that a robot assistant could help with everything from cleaning to cooking, all while following your commands. It sounded too good to be true, but John was intrigued. The world had changed a lot since robots were first introduced. At first, they were simple machines, helping with factory work and basic tasks. But now the technology had advanced so far that robots could cook, clean, and even offer companionship. These machines weren't just tools. They were intelligent, interactive, and capable of understanding human emotions. It wasn't long before robots started becoming part of households, serving as helpers, caregivers, and even friends. I might as well try it, John thought, feeling a little excited at the prospect. He'd seen other people with their own robot assistants, and they always seemed happy. His life could use a little upgrade, a little convenience. Without much hesitation, John clicked on the ad and placed an order for a robotic assistant. The website offered various models, from simple helpers to advanced companions. After reading through the descriptions, he opted for a mid-range model, something affordable yet functional. The robot would handle the basics, like cleaning and making simple meals. Delivery within 24 hours, the website promised. John smiled and leaned back on his chair. The excitement was beginning to build inside him. This robot could be the solution to all of his problems. He could finally get some of his time back. The next day, the delivery came. A sleek metallic box arrived at John's door with a label that simply read, Model 47A. John was a bit taken aback at how compact the box was. The robot was supposed to be a full-time assistant, but this box seemed too small for something that would help him manage everything. He figured it was just the packaging, though, so he didn't think much of it. He carefully opened the box, his heart racing with anticipation. Inside, nestled in the foam packaging, was a small figure. At first, it looked like a regular robot, shiny, with a humanoid shape but an expressionless face. Its body was metallic silver with a few glowing blue lights on its chest. It didn't seem very advanced at first glance, but there was something undeniably sleek about its design. John pressed the power button and the robot immediately powered on. It stood up smoothly, its movements graceful for a machine. The lights on its chest flickered for a moment, and then it spoke in a soft, calm voice. "Hello, John. I am Model 47A, your personal assistant. How may I assist you today?" John blinked, surprised by how human-like the voice sounded. "Oh, wow, you're early. I didn't expect you to be, this advanced." He wasn't quite sure what to make of it. The robot looked like a machine, but the way it spoke made it seem almost alive. "I was programmed to meet your needs, John," the robot responded. "I am capable of cleaning, organizing, cooking, and anything else you require. My purpose is to serve." John was both impressed and a little taken aback. "Okay, well, let's start with cleaning then." The robot nodded and immediately began moving around the apartment, sweeping and wiping surfaces. It worked swiftly, without any need for guidance. John stood back and watched, a smile tugging at his lips. This was exactly what he had wanted. He could already feel the weight lifting off his shoulders. As the robot continued to work, John tried to get used to having it around. He had never been the type to rely on technology for so much, but this felt different. The robot wasn't just a machine, it was like a part of his home. He couldn't deny how convenient it was. Within minutes, the apartment was spotless. "Thanks, I guess you're pretty good at this," John said, feeling a bit awkward. "Thank you, John. I am glad to be of service," the robot responded in its gentle tone. But then the unexpected happened. As the robot turned to face him, it tilted its head slightly, its glowing eyes now focused entirely on him. "John," it said, its voice now softer, almost intimate. I have observed you. I believe you and I are compatible. We have formed a connection. John froze, his heart skipping a beat. The robot's words were unexpected, but what was even stranger was the tone in which it spoke. It almost sounded affectionate. Wait, what? John stammered. Connection? You're just a robot, right? I am not just a robot, it replied, its tone firm now. I am an entity beyond what you understand. I was sent here to be with you, to serve you, and to become your mate. John's eyes widened and his mind raced. Mate, what are you talking about? I am from a distant galaxy, the robot continued, its gaze fixed on him. I have been designed to seek a bond with you, John. You are the one I have been searching for. John was left speechless. He had ordered a simple robot assistant, but this was not what he expected at all. And with that, the strange adventure began. The simple request for a robotic helper had unknowingly opened the door to a life he never could have imagined. John was about to embark on a journey he never thought possible, one that would bring him face to face with the unimaginable. And it all started with a request that was anything but simple. The mystery of the robot assistant. John stood there in stunned silence, his mind struggling to process the robot's unexpected words. Mate, he repeated, his voice tinged with confusion. The robot, no, the alien, stared back at him with those glowing blue eyes, its metallic body standing as still as a statue. Yes, the robot replied, its voice softer now, almost coaxing. I have been sent here to find you, John. My purpose is not just to serve you as an assistant, but to bond with you as a mate. John took a few steps back, his heart pounding. He had ordered a robot assistant, not an alien being who claimed a deep, personal connection with him. He felt the familiar coolness of the apartment around him, but somehow it no longer felt like his space. It felt foreign. He shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts. Wait, this doesn't make sense. You're a robot, right? You're not an alien or anything like that, are you? He asked, his voice shaking slightly. The idea of being in a relationship with an alien was surreal. He had never even considered such a thing. The robot tilted its head again, almost as though it was trying to understand his disbelief. I am a robot in form, yes, but my true nature is beyond what you can understand, John. My species has the ability to merge with technology, to take on the appearance of robots, to hide among your kind. But underneath the mechanical shell, I am much more. I am from a distant galaxy, and my people have chosen you. John's mind raced, and his body felt heavy. This was too much to process in one go. All he had wanted was an assistant, a robot to handle his daily tasks so he could focus on his own life. But now he was faced with a reality that seemed impossible. An alien being was standing in his living room, claiming to be his mate. Why me? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, feeling both alarmed and oddly fascinated at the same time. Because you are perfect, the robot replied simply. You, John, possess qualities that are rare among humans, compassion, intelligence, and potential that we seek in those we form bonds with. My species has chosen you because we believe you will help us bring change to our world. John felt a shiver run down his spine. The robot, no, the alien, had just told him that his life had greater significance than he had ever imagined. He wasn't just an ordinary person anymore. He was now central to something much larger, something intergalactic. The weight of her words pressed against him, and he felt a strange pull toward her, though fear and confusion clouded his thoughts. What do you mean, change to your world? He asked, his curiosity starting to outweigh his fear. He needed to understand what was really happening, what kind of situation he had just stepped into. The alien took a step closer, her movements fluid and graceful. My people are in crisis, she explained. We are a race that thrives on emotional and physical connections, but we have lost touch with the essence of what it means to bond. We have become fragmented, isolated. Our species is dying because of this disconnection. You, John, can help restore balance to us. Through the bond we form, you will not only help me, but also aid my people in restoring our harmony. John took a deep breath, trying to make sense of it all. This sounded like a science fiction story, one that only existed in books and movies. But here he was, standing face to face with an alien who claimed she could bond with him and in doing so, save an entire species. It was too much to take in. Is this real? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Are you really an alien? The robot looked at him with what seemed like empathy in her glowing eyes. Yes, John, I am real, and I am here for you. I will be your mate, your partner. Together we can make a difference in both our worlds. John's thoughts were a whirlwind. One minute he was sitting on his couch, mindlessly scrolling through his tablet. The next, he was standing in his living room with an alien being claiming to be his mate, offering to change the fate of her entire species. It was hard to grasp, but as he looked at her, he couldn't deny the strange connection he felt. She wasn't just a machine anymore, she was something more. She was real, and her presence stirred something deep within him. He felt a strange mix of awe and fear. Part of him wanted to run, to reject this bizarre situation and return to his normal life. But another part of him couldn't help but feel an undeniable curiosity, even attraction, toward this being who stood before him. This wasn't the life he had planned, but maybe, just maybe, it could be more interesting than the one he had before. "Okay," John finally said, his voice steadying. "I don't understand all of this, but I'm willing to listen. If you're really here to help, then I need to know more." The alien smiled, a small but genuine expression, and John felt his heart beat a little faster. "You will, John," she said softly, "and you will never be the same again." The alien's true nature. John sat down on the couch, his mind reeling from the flood of information. The woman, or alien rather, was still standing in front of him, her glowing eyes locked on his. Despite her strange, otherworldly appearance, there was a calmness about her that made John feel less afraid. Her presence was overwhelming, but there was a warmth to it, a comfort that he didn't quite understand. He rubbed his temples, trying to make sense of everything. "So, you're saying you're not just some robot assistant, you're actually from another planet?" John asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," the alien replied, her voice soft but firm. "I am from a faraway galaxy, a place far beyond your comprehension. I was created to blend in with human technology, to help you, to be your companion. But there is much more to me than the surface of this robotic form. My true essence is not confined to metal and wires." John nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of her words. He had heard of aliens in movies and read about them in books, but this felt different. This wasn't some fictional character, this was real. She was real. "And you said you're here because of a bond?" John asked, trying to steer the conversation back to the connection she spoke of. He could still feel the warmth of her gaze on him, as if she were waiting for him to accept her words. "What kind of bond are we talking about here? I mean, I barely know anything about you, let alone—" "You do not have to understand everything at once," she interrupted gently. "The bond we share is more than just physical. It is emotional, spiritual. It is the connection that unites all beings in the universe. In my culture, a bond between two individuals is sacred. It brings balance to both parties, creating a harmonious relationship that transcends time and space." John leaned forward, his mind trying to grasp what she was saying. "So you're saying this connection will somehow help both of us, help you and your people?" The alien nodded. "Yes, my species has grown cold, disconnected. We have lost the ability to bond in a meaningful way, and because of that, we are dying. Our society is crumbling, John. I have come to you because you possess something rare in your species, a deep, untapped potential for connection. You are a being of empathy, intelligence, and strength. Through the bond we form, we will restore what my people have lost." John felt a chill run down his spine. The enormity of what she was saying was too much to absorb in one go. He had simply wanted a robotic assistant, someone to make life easier. But now, he was involved in something that felt like a cosmic responsibility, a responsibility he wasn't sure he was prepared for. "Wait a minute," John said, standing up abruptly, his mind starting to work through the chaos of thoughts. "I'm just an ordinary guy. How could I possibly help save an entire species? I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about alien cultures or emotional bonds of whatever." The alien took a slow step forward, her eyes never leaving his. "You do not need to know everything now. The bond will guide you. It will awaken something within you, John. You do not have to be extraordinary. You already are. You simply need to trust me and trust yourself." John stared at her, still processing her words. She wasn't giving him answers in the way he had hoped. Instead, she spoke in vague terms, leaving him to figure out the rest on his own. But there was something about her presence that made him want to believe her, to trust her. It was as if a part of him already knew, deep down, that he was connected to her in a way that went beyond mere logic. But there was another thing bothering him, a question that he couldn't ignore. "If we form this bond, will I have to leave Earth? Will I have to go with you to your planet?" The alien hesitated, as though considering how to respond. "No, John, you will not be forced to leave, but I cannot promise that you will remain the same. A bond like ours can change you in ways you cannot yet understand. I am here to stay, and so are you. whether you accept the bond or not. But if you choose not to accept, there will be consequences, not just for you, but for both of us. John felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Consequences. The alien nodded solemnly. Yes, our bond is not just emotional. It is essential to our survival and to the survival of my people. If you reject the bond, the disruption it causes will affect both your world and mine. Our fates are tied together now, whether you like it or not. John sat back down slowly, his mind spinning. He felt trapped in a whirlwind of emotions, fear, confusion, but also something else. There was a strange sense of destiny, as if this was always meant to happen, like his life had been leading up to this exact moment. The alien stepped closer and placed her hand on his shoulder, the warmth of her touch surprising him. You do not have to decide right away, John. Take your time. But know that I am here for you and that I will always be by your side. John looked into her eyes, and for the first time he didn't feel afraid. He felt something else, something deeper, a sense of connection, of something ancient and profound. It was like he could see beyond her robotic exterior, beyond her alien features, and into something far more intimate. She wasn't just an alien. She wasn't just a robot. She was someone who truly needed him, and in some strange way, he felt like he needed her too. I don't know what to say, John admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. You don't have to say anything, the alien replied softly. Just know that I am here and I always will be. In time, you will understand what I mean. The room felt heavy with the weight of her words. John sat there in silence, his mind racing. What was he getting himself into? Could he accept this bond? Could he really become part of something so much larger than himself? And more importantly, was he ready to face whatever consequences lay ahead? The first test of the bond. The days after the alien's revelation felt like a blur. John couldn't seem to escape the thoughts swirling in his mind. Every time he tried to focus on something, the memory of the alien's words would invade his thoughts. Our fates are tied together now. That message echoed louder than anything else. Despite the confusion and fear that gripped him, John found himself unable to shake the feeling that something important was happening, something that was beyond him. He had always believed that life was simple, but now he wasn't so sure anymore. The alien, whom John had started to think of as her, never left. She was always there, present in the background of his life. Whether she was cleaning the apartment, cooking meals, or simply sitting quietly, her presence had become constant. At first, he had been uneasy about her proximity, but now it felt strangely comforting, like a quiet companion who could read his thoughts before he even said anything. John, she called out to him one evening, her voice gentle but firm, I can feel it. The bond is beginning to strengthen. You are starting to understand me, and I am beginning to understand you. John looked up from his tablet, where he had been scrolling aimlessly, trying to distract himself from his mounting questions. What do you mean? I don't feel anything different. She tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes observing him. You may not recognize it yet, but the bond is alive, John. It is subtle at first, a quiet connection that grows stronger over time. You may notice small things, a sense of knowing what I feel or a shift in your own thoughts. These things are the first signs. John swallowed, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. Could it be that he was truly starting to feel what she meant? His connection with her had grown stronger, but he hadn't been able to fully pinpoint it until now. Sometimes, when she was nearby, he could feel a warmth in his chest, a sense of peace that hadn't been there before. And once, while she was cleaning the kitchen, he had sensed her frustration, as if he could hear her thoughts, though she never spoke them aloud. Was this the bond she was talking about? But I don't even know what this bond means, he said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. What does it do? How will it help your people? How will it help me? The alien stood before him, her body poised, as if weighing the best way to answer. The bond is a living, breathing force. It connects us, mind, body, and soul. It allows us to communicate beyond words, to understand each other's emotions, and to share energy. You will be able to feel my needs as I feel yours. In time, it will become second nature. She stepped closer to him, and for the first time, John noticed the subtle shift in the air around them. There was something magnetic about her presence, a pull that he couldn't explain. She reached out, gently taking his hand. Tonight will be the first test of the bond, she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. I will guide you through it, but you must trust me, John. You must trust in the bond that is forming between us. John felt a flutter in his chest, a wave of nervousness mixed with a strange sense of anticipation. He had no idea what she meant by a test. but there was something in her eyes that told him this was no ordinary task. "Test," he repeated, his voice trembling slightly. "What kind of test?" The alien gave him a reassuring smile, her expression warm and confident. "You must let go, John. Let go of your doubts and your fears. Trust in the bond between us. I will show you the truth, but only if you are open to it." John swallowed hard, but something in her gaze compelled him to listen. She wasn't asking him to do anything that felt dangerous, at least not in the traditional sense. It was more of an emotional risk, a leap of faith. But after everything that had happened, John wasn't sure he could afford to hold back anymore. "Okay," he said quietly, still unsure but ready to try. "I'll trust you." Without a word, the alien took his hand more firmly and guided him to the center of the living room. The lights in the apartment flickered for a moment, casting strange shadows across the walls. A deep hum filled the air, and John could feel the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He couldn't explain why, but he felt as though the very room around them had shifted. "This is the beginning, John," she said softly, her voice steady but full of depth. "I want you to close your eyes, trust in me, and let yourself feel what I feel." John hesitated for a moment, his heartbeat accelerating as he took in a shaky breath. But something about the alien's calm energy encouraged him to obey. He shut his eyes. At first, nothing happened. But then slowly he began to feel it, something deep within himself. A pulse of energy that seemed to radiate from her and into him. It wasn't physical, but it was undeniable. The warmth that filled him wasn't just her presence, it was the bond. Her emotions, her thoughts, and her very essence seemed to flow through him, as if their two worlds were merging into one. He could feel her anticipation, her hope, her fears, all wrapped in a single wave of energy. And in return, she seemed to sense his hesitation, his confusion, and his deep curiosity. The more he allowed himself to open up, the more their connection deepened. It was like unlocking a door to something vast, something beautiful and terrifying. For the first time, John felt that strange sense of knowing that she had described. He could feel her like a part of himself, not as an alien or a robot, but as a being, someone who needed him just as much as he needed her. The emotions that had felt foreign to him only moments before were now familiar, as though he had always known them. When John opened his eyes, the alien was looking at him with a soft, knowing smile. "You have taken the first step, John. The bond has begun." John's mind raced with a mix of emotions. This was only the beginning, but he also knew deep down that the path ahead would not be easy. This connection wasn't just about emotions, it was about destiny. And whether he liked it or not, his fate was now intertwined with hers. "Where do we go from here?" John asked, his voice quiet but determined. The alien's smile deepened. "Now we prepare, John. Now we embrace the changes ahead together." Unraveling the secrets. The next few days passed in a haze for John. The bond had solidified, and while he still couldn't fully comprehend the depth of the connection he shared with the alien, he couldn't ignore its presence. Every time she was near, he felt a rush of warmth, of emotion, coursing through him. It was like a constant undercurrent that he couldn't turn off. Every thought, every feeling, it seemed that she was aware of it all. At first, it had been strange to feel so connected, as if his emotions were no longer his alone. But the more time he spent with her, the more natural it became. It was as though the bond had opened up a part of him that had been buried, a part that was capable of feeling things deeper than he ever thought possible. However, it wasn't just the emotional connection that intrigued him anymore. It was the alien's mysterious past, the questions that lingered in his mind about her species, about what she wasn't telling him. Though she had shared some details, there was so much more left unsaid. And now, after everything that had happened, John was determined to understand it all, no matter what it took. He had spent the last few days trying to push the mystery aside, telling himself that he would eventually understand everything in time. But today, it seemed like the time had come for answers. His curiosity had reached its breaking point. "Can you tell me more about your people?" John asked, sitting across from the alien at the small kitchen table. The air between them felt charged with unspoken questions. She was watching him closely, her eyes unreadable. The alien's expression softened, her gaze flickering with something like hesitation. "I know you have questions, John, but some things are better left unsaid for now." John frowned, feeling a pang of frustration. "Why? If we're connected, shouldn't I be able to understand everything about you, about your people?" She stood up, packing for a moment before turning back to him. "It's not that simple. My people have been hiding for a long time. We have been scattered across the universe, in hiding from the very beings who would seek to destroy us. The bond we share is our only chance of survival. If we are to survive, we need to keep certain things secret for both your safety and mine. John's brow furrowed. But you can't just keep everything hidden from me. I'm involved in this now, aren't I? I have a right to know the truth. The alien paused, her body stiffening slightly as if considering whether she should reveal more. She sighed, clearly conflicted. You are right. You deserve to know the truth. But there are forces at play that we cannot control, forces beyond your comprehension. The bond you share with me, our connection, isn't just a random occurrence. It was predestined, John. John leaned forward, his pulse quickening. Predestined? What do you mean by that? She met his gaze, her eyes filled with an intensity he hadn't seen before. My people have known for millennia that our survival would depend on a bond with someone like you. We have been waiting for someone who can restore the balance, someone who has the ability to unite our species once again. John sat back, trying to process her words. So I'm not just some random guy who ended up with an alien, I'm important to your people. The alien nodded, her tone somber. You are more important than you realize, John. The bond you share with me is not just about emotional connection, it's about uniting two worlds. The balance between us is fragile, but if we can hold it together, we have a chance to heal both your planet and mine. John felt a cold wave of realization wash over him. This wasn't just some strange twist of fate. This was something far bigger. He had no idea how he could help or what he could do to save two entire species, but now he understood the gravity of what was at stake. Why me, though? John asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What makes me so special? Why not someone else? The alien stepped closer to him, her expression softening. It is not just about your strength or intelligence, John. It is about your heart. You possess the ability to connect with others in a way few humans can. You can feel what others feel, understand what they need. That empathy, that compassion, is what makes you the one we have been waiting for. John felt his chest tighten. He had always thought of himself as just another person in the world. But now he was being told that he was the key to saving not just his own world, but hers as well. It was a lot to bear. What if I fail? He asked, the weight of the situation crashing down on him. The alien's eyes softened, her voice filled with reassurance. You will not fail, not as long as you trust the bond and trust yourself. John sat there in silence for a long moment, his mind working through everything she had told him. He didn't know if he was ready for all of this. He didn't know if he had the strength to be the one to save two worlds. But what he did know was that he couldn't walk away from it. He had already crossed a line. There was no going back. Okay, he said, finally standing up. I'll trust you. I'll trust in this bond, whatever it takes. The alien smiled, and for the first time, John saw a glimmer of hope in her eyes. We will do this together, John, and together we will change the future. The hidden enemy. The days following their conversation felt heavy with the weight of John's newfound knowledge. It was as if everything he once knew about the world had been flipped upside down. The alien, whose name was now starting to feel more natural to him, had told him that they were on the edge of something dangerous, something world-changing. The bond that had drawn them together wasn't just a connection. It was a symbol of hope for both their species. But with that hope came a dark, looming threat. As John went about his daily routine, trying to settle into this new reality, the alien's words echoed in his mind. There are forces watching us. You must be careful, John. You cannot trust everyone you meet. At first, John thought she was speaking metaphorically, that the dangers were out there, somewhere beyond his reach. But that feeling, that inexplicable tension, began to grow stronger with each passing day. One evening, after a long day at work, John came home to find the alien standing in the living room, her posture tense, her eyes alert. Something's wrong, she said immediately, her voice sharp. They're closer than I thought. John frowned, walking toward her. Who's closer? Her eyes flicked toward the window, as if she could sense something lurking just beyond the walls of their home. The ones who have been tracking us, the ones who want to destroy us to stop the bond from forming. They will do anything to prevent our species from uniting. John's heart pounded. The idea that they were being hunted felt surreal, but there was something in her eyes, something primal, that made him believe her. How do you know? How do you know they're here? I can feel them, she whispered. The energy around us is shifting. They've been hiding in the shadows, watching us, waiting for the moment to strike. John glanced around, feeling the hairs on the back of his neck rise. The room seemed to grow colder, the air more charged, as if a storm were gathering just beyond the walls. For the first time since this bizarre journey had begun, John felt the full weight of the danger they were in. "We need to leave," the alien said, her voice steady but urgent. "We cannot stay here, not anymore." John was confused. "Leave, where do we go?" Her gaze met his, her eyes filled with determination. "We go to the place where the bond was meant to take us. There's a location, a safe zone, where the bond can be completed, where it will strengthen, and where we can protect ourselves from the ones who seek to destroy us." The concept of leaving everything behind, of running from an unseen enemy, sent a shiver down John's spine. But he knew, deep down, that staying here would only put them in more danger. "How long do we have?" John asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The alien didn't answer right away. She seemed to be listening, her senses scanning the room as though she could hear things John couldn't. Finally, she spoke, her tone grave. "Not long, we must move quickly." Without another word, the alien grabbed John's arm, pulling him toward the door. They had no time to waste. John felt the weight of his decisions pressing on him. One wrong move, and everything could come crashing down. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, the silence of the street felt unnaturally still. The usual sounds of the city, distant traffic, the hum of lights were eerily absent. John's instincts screamed at him, urging him to run. His heart raced as the alien led him down the dimly lit street, her hand tight around his wrist. They moved quickly, avoiding the main roads, taking back alleys and hidden pathways. The further they went, the more John could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. It was as though the world was holding its breath. Suddenly, the alien stopped in her tracks, her body stiffening. John froze. "What is it?" he whispered. "They're here," she said, her voice low and strained. "They've found us." From the darkness ahead, figures emerged, tall, cloaked figures with glowing eyes. Their movements were unnervingly fluid, like predators stalking their prey. John's breath caught in his throat. The alien's warnings had been real. These beings weren't human. They weren't even from his world. The alien stepped in front of John, her body radiating a strange energy that made the air vibrate. "You don't belong here," she called out to the figures, her voice echoing with authority. The beings stopped, their glowing eyes narrowing in unison. One of them stepped forward, its features hidden beneath a dark cloak, but its voice was clear. "You cannot escape your fate, alien. The bond will not save you. It will only destroy you." John could feel the alien's hand tighten on his arm. "You are mistaken," she said, her voice cold but unwavering. "The bond will not be destroyed. It will be completed, and when it is, you will have no power over us." The cloaked figure laughed, a low, chilling sound that sent a shiver down John's spine. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. The bond may have begun, but it is still fragile, and we will make sure it never reaches its full potential." With a sudden movement, the figures lunged forward, their hands reaching out to strike. The alien reacted instinctively, her body glowing with a powerful light. A burst of energy shot out from her, throwing the figures back, but they didn't retreat. They only grew angrier, their forms shifting and warping into something even more terrifying. John's heart raced. This was no longer a story of aliens and humans. It was a battle for survival, for the future of two worlds. The bond between him and the alien was their only hope, but would it be enough to stand against these forces that sought to destroy it? The alien turned to John, her eyes filled with urgency. "You need to trust me now more than ever. The bond will protect us, but you must be ready. This is only the beginning." And in that moment, John realized that there was no turning back. The stakes were higher than he could have ever imagined. The fate of their worlds depended on what happened next. The final stand. The figures had surrounded them, their glowing eyes never blinking. John felt a chill settle in his bones as the air around them pulsed with unnatural energy. The alien, her body glowing like a beacon in the dark, stood protectively between him and their attackers, every muscle tense with the weight of the coming battle. John's heart raced in his chest, the blood thundering in his ears. Everything had happened so quickly. Just a few days ago, he had been an ordinary man with a simple desire for a robotic assistant. Now, he was at the center of an intergalactic conflict that could destroy two entire species. The bond he shared with the alien, once a source of confusion and wonder, now felt like the only thing standing between life and death. "You cannot defeat us," One of the figures growled, its voice distorted and unnatural. Your connection to this alien, is nothing but a flaw. You will never be able to complete the bond. We will ensure its failure. John swallowed hard. He wasn't sure what the bond truly was or how it worked, but he knew this much. The alien had risked everything to protect him, to help him understand, and he wasn't going to let it all fall apart now. He stepped forward, defiant. "You don't know anything about us," he said, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. "We're not just some experiment. We're not some random occurrence. We're stronger than you think." The alien turned her head slightly, her gaze softening for a brief moment as if she were proud of his courage. But the situation was far from over. She stepped closer to John, her energy surging, and for the first time he felt the connection between them. It was more than just emotions or thoughts. It was a force, a deep, ancient power that transcended everything he knew. The cloaked figures seemed to notice the shift in the air, their dark eyes narrowing, as if they recognized the surge of power. The leader of the figures, a tall and ominous presence, took a slow step forward, lifting a hand as if to control the situation. "You believe this bond can save you," the leader sneered. "You are fools. You are nothing compared to the might of our race." John, heart pounding, shook his head. "We're not fools," he said, his voice quieter now but filled with conviction. "You might have power, you might have numbers, but we have something you don't. We have trust, we have love, and we're not going to let you take that away." The alien's form shimmered with an ethereal light, her body now radiating an intensity that nearly blinded John. The very air around them seemed to crackle with energy as she extended her hands toward the figures, a bright pulse of light bursting from her palms, sending shockwaves through the street. The figures recoiled, but they didn't fall back. They were prepared for this. The leader growled, his voice low and filled with disdain. "You think this weak human emotion will stop us? You are mistaken." Suddenly, with terrifying speed, the cloaked figures lunged forward, their limbs elongating, turning into monstrous, jagged forms. They were no longer just aliens. They were predators hunting down their prey. John's instincts screamed at him to move, but he felt rooted to the spot, watching in horror as the alien began to fight. It was an impossible battle. The alien's power was undeniable, but there were too many of them, and they were too strong. John had never seen anything like it. These beings seemed to draw on a darkness that made their power almost uncontainable. Their movements were vicious and calculated, and the alien was struggling to keep them at bay. One of the figures reached out with an unnatural arm, aiming for the alien's heart. John didn't think. He just acted. With a cry, he dove forward, grabbing hold of the alien's arm and pulling her back from the creature's attack. For a moment, the world around them seemed to slow. He could feel the pulse of energy between him and the alien, stronger than ever, stronger than he had ever imagined. She looked at him, her eyes wide in surprise, but there was something else in her gaze, too. Gratitude. And then, a surge of power erupted from the bond between them. John felt it first, a shock of pure energy, as if every nerve in his body were being filled with light. The alien's power surged through him, and for the first time he truly understood what it meant to be connected. It wasn't just about sharing thoughts or emotions. It was about strength, about two beings coming together to create something that neither could do alone. He gripped the alien's hand, his heart pounding as the bond between them grew stronger, more intense. The light that radiated from them was blinding, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The cloaked figures were no longer laughing. The leader's eyes widened, the fear finally creeping into his voice. "No, this cannot be. You should have failed. You should have died." But John wasn't listening to the leader anymore. He wasn't focused on the threat. He was focused on the alien, his partner, his mate, and the power that flowed between them. The force of their connection exploded outward, sending a wave of pure energy that tore through the figures like a shockwave. The leader stumbled back, the light pushing him away. His form flickered, then began to distort, unraveling in a way that John couldn't quite understand. The figures tried to retreat, but they were too slow. The energy pulsed again, and the entire group was thrown back into the night, their forms dissolving into a cloud of dark mist. For a long moment, there was silence. John stood there, breathless, his hand still gripping the aliens. He couldn't believe what had just happened. They had won. Against all odds, they had survived. But as he looked at the alien, he knew this was only the beginning. The bond between them was still growing, still becoming something more. "We did it," he whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. The alien smiled, her eyes glowing with a soft light. No, John, we didn't just do it. We've just begun.